Welcome back, everybody. We've just saved all the fleas, and now we are headed to finish True Ending. Sorry for the delay in getting this one out, folks. There have been some technical difficulties, but I think we've resolved those now, so hopefully the next couple episodes will come out at a more regular pacing. There's really not too much more to go. We have Act 3, but before we can do that, we are going to need to wrap up a few more quests. So we're turning in the last upgrade here, which is going to allow us to get the quest for Trail's End, which is the end of the Shocker quest line. And then now we're going to do a courier, our last courier, which is to go down to Bone Bottom. And so there's a couple routes you could take. We're actually going to take a route to the right here, which it turns out is slightly faster than walking all the way to the left and dropping. Even though it's a little bit more of a windy route, TAS can do it pretty quickly, and it's actually a shorter route overall. And this also ended up saving us time earlier because we didn't have to open the door that we would have had to open to go to the left. So we could just make our little quick way through here. Get a couple of hits of silk off of that guy, just to be able to do our claw lines a little bit faster. The other reason that's nice going from this side is that the job board, which is where we need to actually turn in the quests, in Bone Bottom, is on the right-hand side. So if you drop down on the left-hand side, then you have to actually move quite a bit back to the right to be able to get to the job board.
That's fine.
So we make the delivery, and then we turn in all our various quests. But first we need to get a bunch of shards, because the shards are required for one of the quest turn-ins. Which is why we bought all those earlier. That quest is one that you could only get on this route. You can't get on the normal low TE route. And the reason we can do that is because we are getting the shard pouch from the Fleetopia delivery. Normally you can't get that shard pouch because it's percent, but because we need Fleetopia anyways, it allows us to get that quest, which allows us to skip the nail upgrade, which would have been a percent. So now we're going to go ahead and finish the Trail's End. Unfortunately, it does require a little bit of backtracking because this quest is very awkward. You either do it on the way to Grohl, or you have to come back for it. And in our case, it's funnier and more efficient to just come back for it. Some interesting movement there to try to avoid the water.
Yanara.
Yes.
And now we're going to get the rings, which are a terrible weapon, but they are a requirement because we have to finish this quest in order to get the final quest to get to Act 3. So we need to do a couple more things. We get the Bell Home Key, which is why we had to get a needle upgrade earlier, because it's one of the prerequisites for that. And now we have one more major quest we need to do, which will allow us to then finally get the Silken Soul quest. So we're going to take the Ventrica up to Sunclave. And the quest that we're going to need to do is the Broodmother quest. Broodmother is a very long quest, but it is one that you can do without a percent, so it's required for low TE. And of course we have to turn in some stuff as well. And thankfully we can just quit out to the Bellway. The good news is that because we already did the slab earlier, we prepped the way for this quest. So we're going to be able to take a relatively short path to get there. Instead of having to go all the way around, we can just go up through the middle. We do still have to go through this shortcut, because opening the doors to go through the middle passage would have taken longer. So we just still take that little path through. More fun wall swimming. And then we use the key that we got earlier. And then this fight is pretty fun. Very awkward fight with all the explosions, but no problem for TAS. Lots of interesting stuff to mess with. Can't get a screen skip, unfortunately. The angles on this guy are pretty awkward, so there's some interesting stuff that we have to do to try to keep getting hits in. But it's not too bad. Still fairly efficient. This particular sequence is quite fun. It was interesting finding the right pattern that would interleave between those. And that's it. Broodmother's done. And with that, we have completed all of the quests that we need to get Silken Soul. So we just need to go back up to Songclave and turn it in. Ahoy. 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 So now we get to turn it in and get more rosaries that we'll never be able to use. Very long conversation. Lots of conversations. Lots of lore exposition. And now we have the quest. Alright, so now we need to go grab a few souls. Have to talk to this guy twice.
That's fine.
And then now we just need to get the soul down by Bone Bottom. Nothing too fancy through here, just some basic movement. Cause a small amount of damage to the statue, but I'm sure it's fine. Thank you for your soul. And now we are almost ready to fight Grandmother Silk. All we need to do is build the trap.
That's fine. Da, finis. Nesvie. Benefrag. Megina fora. Yanara.
Elos.
So the interesting thing about the Grandmother Silk fight here is that the Pogo Hammers are still going to be extremely effective, but not quite as overpowered as they are on some of the other bosses, because on this boss you can actually do dash cancels very efficiently because of the fact that Grandmother Silk doesn't have a contact hitbox. So we've already opened the shortcut, of course, so it's not too much time to be able to get up here. A little bit of fun movement. Mostly through this room. And here we go. So lots of pogo hammers, and then just controlling our height to be able to dodge the needles when relevant. We're able to just barely sneak through there. That was a very close dodge on those threads. Same there. Alright, phase 1 done. So phase 2, we are going to do what we did on the last test, and we are going to get a early control off the rocks, which is a little bit trickier without dash. So we had to use a spear instead of getting a hit in first, but it worked. Otherwise, though, very similar to phase 1, just lots of pogo hammers, a little bit of a silk spear every now and then, and you want to levitate for a bit. A little bit of dodging, not too much, since she's mostly staggered most of the time. And that is it. Grandmother Silk. We're gonna play the music. And oh no. What's this? Thank you, Lace. We'll see you later. I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun. And that is the end of Act 2. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. Coming up soon, we get to return, and we get to explore what the world looks like with all the void, and see how TAS does with it. Because next time, we'll be entering Act 3.